A little bit about my educational background. I went to Vincennes University and gained a 2-year associate's degree in general studies following high school. I began working for my current employer, which is an automotive manufacturer. After about a year or two of starting there, I realized that I'd like to get into the skilled trades, which prompted me to return to Vincennes University to get my 2-year automation technology degree. And I saw advertisements for the 2+2 program and realized that, hey, because of the flexibility and the convenience of being able to go to school online and the affordability of the program and the fact that all my credits transferred from Vincennes University, that is ultimately why I chose to do the 2+2 program. I did finish a 2-year associate's degree through Vincennes University in advanced manufacturing automation technology. And then all of those credits had transferred to Purdue. So I essentially enrolled into Purdue as a junior and finished my bachelor's degree in multidisciplinary technology. In terms of time, I've been kind of spacing out my 2+2, my bachelor's program over the course of 3 years, targeting to complete it here in the next semester or two. A lot of it's based on, your quantity of classes, how much course load can you take on each semester. I'm currently working full-time, so I have 1 to 2 classes is kind of a max. I mean, I could stretch it out and probably do 3. My experience and maybe some team building activities or other group activities throughout this Purdue 2+2, many of the other students that I've encountered or worked with are also doing the same thing. I have a feeling that there is a majority probably of full-time employees who are also taking this 2+2 program simultaneously. The way the Polytechnic education is constructed is very beneficial for those that are already working full-time or those that are, pursuing an advancement in their career, in terms of there's a lot of practicality in the coursework and the way the education is laid out, as well as there's a lot of hands-on exercises, and I think that's very important. And also from my experience of working full-time while doing this, there's been tons of correlation between the coursework and what I actually encounter throughout my job. And so I think taking the approach that Purdue does with Polytechnic is very beneficial to those that are working full-time. A little bit of background on my kind of internship history. So I had an internship during my 2-year Vincennes degree, and then upon completion of that degree, I was hired full-time. However, just I would say the fact that I was pursuing my bachelor's and also the emphasis on it as a Purdue program and just kind of the weight that the Purdue name holds and the importance of, the standard of this education, it has definitely helped, I would say, without a doubt, enabled me to gain some of the positions that I have gained throughout the last, 2 to 3 to 4 years of my career. Purdue is a globally recognized name, as we all know, in terms of, educational institutions. And I think specifically in this, maybe Indiana, maybe even the Midwestern area, a lot of employers, recognize that Purdue is a very prestigious school and maintains a high level of education and standard for education. And so I think that not only the fact that am I getting a bachelor's degree, but it is through Purdue will and has already been beneficial in my career, and in terms of, if I were to transfer jobs or go look somewhere else for employment or somewhere else, that having that Purdue name behind my education and on my resume is definitely helpful. Some of the particularly useful skills and skill sets, I'll call them tools maybe, that Purdue has given me throughout this program has been a lot of tools based around project management, as well as maybe overall operations. One thing I have noticed is that, a lot of my associate's degree was very technically heavy on the technical side, and then, going into the bachelor's program, it has allowed me to kind of zoom out, and rather than focus on be siloed to one particular way of thinking, a lot of these courses in the Purdue 2+2 have allowed me to kind of open up and realize other perspectives for looking at a particular task or a particular thing in terms of manufacturing and anything industrial engineering related. A lot of this coursework has allowed me to see things from a bigger picture, I guess I could say. And that has directly translated to, my roles and things I'm doing now. We're talking maybe high school level or, those that haven't started secondary education. I would say, just from my pure experience, I've worked several positions at my particular company, those, being before I had a degree, while I had a 2-year degree, and now while I have a 4-year degree. And as I'd mentioned with the skill sets and being able to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, I've kind of been able to see a lot of different facets of my particular industry and to talk to a high schooler, and I know high schoolers don't necessarily know exactly where they want to go, I would say don't limit yourself to what you're learning right now, and don't stay too narrowly focused on the exact things you're learning in a 2-degree program, and try to widen your mindset to, oh well, if I continue this and go more of a 4-year route, there's a lot more that can be learned, and can maybe open up more doors down the road. So maybe just something to keep in the back of your mind as a high schooler would be, hey, how far do you want to go, and what all do you want to accomplish throughout your career and throughout your lifetime working. For those that are currently pursuing a 2-year degree, maybe at Vincennes University or elsewhere, and are considering going on with the 2+2 program, I would definitely not only just recommend the program outright, but also emphasize the being able to look at the bigger picture. And if you get a 2-year degree, that's great. You get great work and have a wonderful career. But if you're looking to advance or looking to learn more about your own industry or increase your skill set to become more valuable in the workplace, then definitely pursuing this 2+2 program is a good choice. For me, for long-term goals, I would like to complete this program. I'm currently on the tail end of this 2+2. I've got just a few classes left. Of course, I'm working full-time, so I'm just kind of piecemealing it as I go and knocking it out as I can. But upon completion of this degree, I would like to pursue a master's degree, kind of weighing some options on whether I want to do more of like an MBA route that could be something that is more flexible in terms of career movement, or maybe a more technical master's program. But certainly, to answer your question, following this program, I do intend to continue my education and pursue some type of master's program and continue working for my current employer and seeing what I can do there. Thus far in my career, I have worked in the southwestern Indiana region. However, thanks to this 2+2 program, I just recently gained a promotion through my employer a couple months ago, and I'm actually relocating. Still working for the same employer, but with that Purdue degree and that name behind the degree, it has definitely opened a lot of doors, and I'm actually currently moving to advance my career. For this 2+2 program, in my case, every course has been offered distance education, so there's been an online offering for every course, and I've taken that online offering each time. This has been monumental in my ability to be able to complete this degree, as I do have a family and I'm working full-time, so being able to do my education remotely and on my own time has been very helpful. On top of that, all my professors and mentors have been very amicable and have ensured that I have the tools that I need to be successful in the course. I know it's a little different, kind of going from a in-person degree to online is quite a shift, but I think a lot of students are working full-time that are doing this program, so I think having the online offering not only helps enrollment, but also helps every student's ability to maybe learn the coursework while being able to apply those principles simultaneously. I think that's also helpful. For this style of degree, I think there are probably a large majority of the students are working full-time and maybe have families that are also taking this degree. There could be some that are taking these courses in person. I think that's also a great opportunity. I'd say if someone's 20 years old and they just finished their technical associates, if you can, go ahead and take all those courses in person. For my particular 2+2 path, there have been several courses that are more hands-on in groups or in teams. So say you've got 20 students in a course, you would then break into groups of 3 or 4, and then what we would be responsible for is we'd be held accountable to host our own meetings and have our own get-togethers on our own time and complete our projects remotely. We used a lot of Google Drive, a lot of Google Docs, those kind of things, lots of online tools. The convenience, the flexibility, and affordability are kind of the 3 main pillars of why I chose this program and how it has allowed me to get my bachelor's degree. Had it not been for maybe even one of those 3 things, I don't know how I would have accomplished completion of that degree. So it's been very, very important, and Purdue has done a great job of making sure I have the resources and tools, and I'm able to do that. Affordability, convenience, flexibility. Convenience in terms of my credits transferred, which is awesome. I could have risked going to another 4-year school and then, you got to start over. We're not taking any of your transfer credits. The convenience, that's the convenience portion of it. Affordability, this 2+2 program stood out certainly for affordability. I've been able to complete this degree and pay for everything out of pocket, which is monumental for me and for my own financial journey as well as my own educational journey. I've been able to do that, which has been awesome. For the third primary reason why I chose this program was for the flexibility that it offered in terms of being able to take courses not only online but on my own time has been very helpful in being able to complete the coursework, get the degree, and as well as take care of my own responsibilities in my personal life and in my professional life. I grew up here in the Knox County, Indiana area, and I went to high school here. I chose Vincennes University to pursue my 2-year associate's degree, and I heard about the 2+2 program right as I began my 2-year degree at Vincennes University. So, just maybe a month or two into our first semester, we were approached by Dr. Jim Tanous. He is a professor through Purdue Polytechnic, and he approached our class and gave us brochures and kind of told us, hey, we know you're just starting this 2-year program, but if you were looking farther down the road and you're looking at extending your education, here's an option. And then I was immediately intrigued by that option, and began looking through details, and then ultimately I kind of made my decision at that point. Really, I knew that if I was to finish this 2-year degree, that I'm gonna go ahead and go do the 2+2 as well, because it just made sense to me. I did participate in a study abroad program. This was a 2-week program where we went to Germany, the Czech Republic, and the Netherlands. This was an awesome program, one of the greatest highlight experiences I think of my life so far. And not only that, but we got to experience different culture, different countries, but also learn at the same time. And I got 3 credit hour course credit for taking this trip. We learned about supply chain, a lot of things that are also tied directly to the coursework itself, but also my career. So that was a great opportunity, getting to do the study abroad. It is all automotive. It's the primary focus of that 2-week study abroad program is I think it's called Central European Automobile Manufacturing, something like that. But we did tour a BMW facility. We also went to a couple of ports, a port in Hamburg as well as a port in Rotterdam, and got to learn a lot of supply chain stuff. And so, yes, it was very, very highly correlated with the degree that I was taking, but also, with my career, which is very important, and, another example of how this program does tie very closely to my own professional career, and it's helped me in that way. Not only was this experience very exciting and very eye-opening in terms of my experience of another culture, several other cultures, but also it allowed me to expand my mindset when it comes to things at work, because I do work for an automotive manufacturer that does deal with, we have vehicles that are made globally, and there's a lot of international trade and relations skills that are needed when working for a company of that kind of scale. And so, being able to go to another country, let alone, another continent, and experience an automotive plant there in terms of how do they build a vehicle versus how do we build a vehicle, I took back a lot of those insights, and, that has just been nothing but beneficial, helping me broaden my horizons and understanding of the global economy.